The battle to secure the border gets a new surge of support.
We're putting the National Guard and military at the border. We're beefing up the Border Patrol.
As hundreds of National Guard troops deploy, state leaders weigh in.
Texas appreciates all the assets that the federal government is bringing to the border because that is the federal government's job.
But it's bringing new concerns about the cost of the operation.
Who's paying for what?
We don't know yet what the total financial cost of this operation is going to be.
Plus, cars on the street illegally. Now there's a push to crack down on these risky rides. But see why some people say there's a problem with the plan. And police officers shot and killed in the line of duty. State lawmakers took note of our investigation, and today we're seeing a new rollout of training for new cadets across Texas. Also, a court order could make it easier for more people to get on the voter rolls.
It is the duty of federal, state, and local governments to help folks get registered to vote.
How a judge's decision could give you the right to register to vote online. Those stories ahead on State of Texas, your in-depth look at Lone Star politics.
Hello, I'm Josh Hinkle. Thank you for joining us for State of Texas, and welcome to our newest viewers in Waco and Brownsville. We look forward to bringing you an in-depth look at Texas politics every week. This week, the number of Texas National Guard troops heading to the border keeps growing. Governor Abbott announced on Monday that he would up the total number of troops to 1,000. Then on Thursday, he raised the number again to 1,400. The majority of those troops will head to the Rio Grande Valley sector of the border. Close to 40% of illegal immigration detentions happen in that area, and the sector accounts for half of marijuana seized at the border. The Border Patrol chief of the Rio Grande Valley sector says he welcomes help from the troops.
The whole purpose of the National Guard deployment to the border is really a stopgap measure until we build enough capability to address the border insecurity, I'll call it right now, for our sector, right? But we need that help. When the National Guard comes in, we look at expanding, first of all, situational awareness, knowing what's happening along our border, and then secondly, being our eyes and ears for us, for agents being able to respond to whatever they're seeing.
President Trump said the troops will form a virtual wall and they'll stay until Congress agrees to build his proposed border wall. But U.S. law limits what the National Guard can do. Governor Abbott spoke about the role for troops serving along the border.
The National Guard is not going to be involved in the process of apprehending people who have come across the border illegally. Instead, the National Guard will be involved in activities such as surveillance. They'll be involved in activities such as flying Lakota helicopters. They'll be involved in a multitude of tasks that will ensure that the Border Patrol officers who were not actively engaged in the apprehension process along the border will be freed up from whatever their task was and will have the time and the ability to be more fully engaged in the apprehension process along the border.
This time last year, state lawmakers were demanding the federal government pay the bill for what Texas is spending on border security. Our border splurge investigation in late 2016 detailed the Department of Public Safety's plans to double the massive amount of troopers it already had stationed on the border to 500, in large part to stop big-time drug smugglers. Well, we discovered most of the arrests state troopers dispatched to the border are making have nothing to do with major drug busts. Some state leaders were hopeful a promised federal border security boost would mean less need for more troopers, and so many of your tax dollars. And at that time, DPS head Steve McCraw told lawmakers his agency wanted to get out of the border security business because it's a strain and not their mission. But with up to 4,000 National Guard troops pledged for border protection across 4 states, military officials now face a strain on their budget. Officials from the Defense Department and the National Guard came to Capitol Hill to talk about the cost of keeping troops on the border. Right now, there are no clear answers.
Who's paying for what?
We don't know yet what the total financial cost of this operation is going to be.
For now, defense leaders want to cover the cost with money from the National Guard budget, but they're not the only ones asking for money. Both Customs and Border Patrol also want more funding from Congress to hire more agents. For perspective on the deployment to the border, we go to our roundtable. Joy Diaz is the producer for the Texas Standard on KUT Public Radio. Will Weissert heads the Austin Bureau for the Associated Press. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Josh.
So with this increase of all of the troops on the border, how could this affect the communities down there?
Well, there's several ways. One of the things that happens, if we can call it a positive thing, is that there is an economic, a flow of money in these communities. For instance, National Guard troops, we know right now from a report from the New York Times that they are not utilizing National Troop vehicles. They're renting vehicles. So that's money coming into the community. When they arrive there, they have to use hotels. So when I've been at the border, it's interesting because you stay at a Holiday Inn and you're the only civilian at the Holiday Inn. All the rooms are used by uniformed personnel. So that's money coming in. But on the other hand, sometimes people talk about the militarization of the border, and I think there's a step beyond where we don't talk about militarization, but we just talk about saturation of uniformed personnel. And what that means is that it doesn't matter who the person is, whether it's National Guard, whether it's, regular police. What you see is a person in uniform. And therefore, that does something to the psyche of this community. So there's a lot of things.
When we have been down there investigating, we've found that so many of the things that people are being arrested for are, not the big crimes. So I think that there was a stigma at that time that, I'm going to get pulled over for a traffic ticket and this is going to be a big deal, or, some other minor infraction. So I think maybe they're very conscious that there is a bigger law enforcement presence down there.
Oh, absolutely, because like I said, there's no difference between what the uniform is. It is a uniform, and we've been taught to follow these rules, right? We listen to authority in uniform. And yes, we saw it in different investigations that people get tickets for going 2 miles over the speed limit or things like that. But not only that, we also know that there's going to be possibly checkpoints, because what is the National Guard going to be doing? We know that the big umbrella is support. What kind of support? What are they going to be doing? And it's very likely that there's going to be increased checkpoints. And when that happens, the inevitable question is, where are you from? What are you doing here? There's a psychological aspect of this.
Well, presidents in the past have sent troops to the border, so is this different than those past instances?
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think so. In 2006, George W. Bush sent thousands and thousands of troops, and Obama called up the National Guard in 2010, and even Governor Perry did it in 2014, and it was extended by Governor Abbott. The reason that the president made this call up in the beginning, as the reason they said that there was a crisis, but if you look at the statistics, it's 3 times in March. There were 3 times as many arrests as there were the previous year. But last year was kind of an anomaly. It was the lowest number of detentions for the full border since 1971. And the thinking there was Trump came in, people sort of wanted to see what it was going to be like on the border, or maybe they stayed home instead of going and trying to cross. Now that he's been in there a year, it's springtime, they're starting to cross again before the weather gets too hot for job opportunities. These troops come in, and is it going to make a difference, or is this year going to continue to be sort of a higher crossing year, whereas last year was an anomaly? That's really what we're going to have to wait and see. I feel pretty confident that Trump's probably going to declare victory no matter what happens, because you can find certain statistics that maybe help. But those on the other side will say, look, this is just an exercise in show.
This time last year, a lot of lawmakers were saying that the federal government, since there's the possibility that Trump might send more border patrol at that point to the border, that Texas could maybe take a step back. Even the DPS director was saying the DPS wants to get out of the business of border patrol. So are we going to be seeing anything different with the way the state is responding? DPS troopers down there, are state funding going to border security?
I don't think so. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think so either. There was a lot of talk, because we were in session last year when Trump came in. Democrats and even some Republicans said, look, maybe we don't have to spend $800 million in state money like we approved last session, because we have a law and order president who campaigned on cracking down on the border. But we still spent that amount last session anyway. They approved, again, $800 billion, I should say. And, we're going to go into session next year. There might be some talk, but at the end of the day, it's very, very hard, especially for conservative Republicans, to vote against border security, because it's a winning issue for them. So it's hard for me to imagine that Texas will actually end up getting any kind of financial windfall out of this.
And one thing we know is that Governor Greg Abbott is like-minded with President Donald Trump. So I don't think that he's going to break. apart on this one.
Lawmakers will have so much more to talk about, too, because now they'll see the effect of all of this.
Absolutely.
Right.
Might have some data.
Will, thank you very much.
Risky rides, fake paper license plates make it easier for criminals to hide their crimes. Now we'll tell you why some of the people trying to catch the crooks say the state's solution may not go far enough. Taking Texas to court over rules on voter registration.
What's wrong with that is it violates the National Voter Registration Act.
A judge backs the bid to get new options for voters, how it could make it easier for Texans to register or renew so they can vote.
Cutting down on risky rides, crimes hidden by fake paper license plates in Texas. That's the goal of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. This week, the DMV rolled out its new e-tag system to do just that. Our investigators first told you about these official paper tags. They are printed with enhanced security features and are harder for criminals to forge and put dangerous cars on the road. Back then, we also introduced you to a Travis County task force trying to target that crime. Now, Brittany Glass found the task force is skeptical about whether the new system is making the streets safer.
It's a problem that's led to an increasing caseload for Sergeant Joe Escribano and the Travis County Clean Air Task Force.
We're almost at what we were last year for a total already this year, and we're just sitting in April.
Phony temporary paper license plates used to fake emissions tests, skirt vehicle inspections, and in a lot of cases, cover up more serious crimes. Now the DMV is adding watermarks to paper tags, like a security star, a Texas seal, and even a barcode to prevent photocopying.
We're constantly looking for ways to make improvements to our systems to help combat fraud, keep people from doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
But now with these countermeasures, it's going to be a little more difficult. It's going to give law enforcement a little bit more to look at.
But for right now, these security enhancements are strictly for dealer tags, not individual drivers.
So we've got a release planned to add all of those security features to those 4 tag types as well in June.
Meaning the fraud may continue for another few months.
It's to be seen over the next 60 days to 90 days what I guess the criminal element's going to do about these tags. I'm very, very curious.
The DMV says it's up to officers to enforce the law.
There is no other method by which to enforce registration in the state of Texas. It's the way registration's been enforced for years.
Sergeant Escribano says the bottom line, law enforcement needs more support.
However, a lot of law enforcement officers still at this stage really don't know what they're looking at because they haven't really been trained in that.
Brittany Glass for State of Texas.
A key feature of the new paper license plates is the unique alphanumeric number. Officers can run the number through their database and get the same information they would from a metal license plate, including who purchased the vehicle and the dealer who sold it.
Texas police shot and killed in the line of duty. The new required training for all cadets that could help reduce that risk. They're suing Texas over the rules you have to follow when you register to vote.
Thousands of voters have complained about this very issue.
A judge agrees with their argument, but see why this case is not over yet. You're watching State of Texas, your in-depth look at Lone Star politics.
Over the past year, we've been investigating cases where a Texas peace officer was shot and killed in the line of duty. In about a third of the cases we analyzed, the shooter had a history of mental illness. We also revealed police agencies statewide severely lacked training when it comes to officers encountering someone suffering a mental health crisis, which can be very dangerous for that person, the officer, and the public. After our investigation, a new state law went into effect, requiring all new cadets to receive a full 40 hours of crisis intervention training. And just this month, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement has rolled out that new curriculum. But some agencies, like the Austin Police Department, have already been offering training like that. Here's an inside look.
Austin Police, sir, you're doing okay?
What are you guys doing here?
Sir, we got a call. Is it all right if we come in?
I didn't call you.
Is it all right if we come in?
I don't know. Do I have to let you in?
Is this your house?
Yeah.
Is it all right if we come in, sir?
Crisis intervention training is not just to keep the consumer safe in the community, it's also an officer safety course.
So having the opportunity to experience it and learn how to deal with it in real time is going to benefit us greatly when we're in the field, I think. Is there a gun in the house?
Yeah, I got guns all over, man.
Yeah? You got any? Okay, I see you got it right here.
Austin Police Department trains for 40 hours, mandates 40 hours. Our cadets are going to be run through a series of role plays where they're put in position where they need to make decisions on what is appropriate for the situation.
And we're going to have to take you to the doctor, all right? So we're just going to cuff you real quick. You're not under arrest. It's not a big deal.
To utilize their communication and de-escalation techniques that we're going to be teaching them this week.
No, I actually think I think severe depression comes before PTSD.
We in the Austin Police Department know that we can't do it alone.
Third from last, you should have severe depression.
We've been very proactive in trying to get other outside organizations like Integral Care to show a different side of this job that is handling situations involving the mentally ill.
Austin Police Department patrol officers can dispatch the mobile crisis teams through their radios and request that a mobile crisis specialist, a licensed clinician, come out on scene and assess the client or citizen that could be in a crisis.
If it's okay, I'm gonna refer you to these individuals. We can't treat these people after the event. That's not our responsibility. Our job is to try to point them in the right direction.
Which could involve the person staying in the community and the mobile crisis teams following up for 90 days. Could entail facilitating admission voluntarily to a hospital or working with our law enforcement partners to place an individual under an emergency detention.
So it's not just about getting them to jail, but it's about getting them help. And we're going to take you to the doctor, all right?
The one thing we preach to our cadets, preach to our officers every day is to show compassion in these moments, because you never know when you're going to be trying to get somebody help who is somebody's brother, who's somebody's sister. That could be our loved one.
We've also learned several law enforcement agencies, including Austin Police, have started showing our following investigation during in-house sessions to give cadets a sense of the risk without that mental health training. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.